What's up, guys? Pony Diamond here, and I'm back with another cool video. This one won't be a lot of driving or a lot of V12 drama other than back there, but I've been getting a lot of messages from Instagram or comments asking what I do for a living and all that kind of stuff. I figured I'll get to that, but maybe I should just kind of start from the beginning, that way you kind of get to know who I am, a little bit about me, I guess. Anyway, so if you like the video, please hit like. Your boy will appreciate it, and of course subscribe as well. It's a bit of an inspirational video. So I'll just get right to the point, I guess. So I came to America in 1983. I was 8 years old, and I'm originally from Thailand. Oh, just real quick, I should tell you this is gonna be like a condensed version. I'll probably do a longer version eventually, like in a different series, because it's gonna get way too long. But anyway, so I'm from Thailand, right? I came to America in 1983. I landed in LAX, and you know what? It was pretty cool because it was kind of chaotic. I was 8 years old, man. I don't know anything. I just figured, you know what? I just follow my dad, So I did that, right? So I remember we were driving in his van, and it was dark. It's probably about 9 p.m. or 10. I think he took us to put like a nice scenic route, sorta, because I can't really see anything. It's all dark, right? But when you look outside, it's kind of, like you see lights, you're coming down that big hill. I don't know where he did that, But anyway, so then we basically live in, I guess we, at the time, I didn't know it was a bad area. It's actually North Long Beach, which is kind of borderline Compton, if you will. So we lived there, and first time I went to the supermarket. It was called Alpha Beta at the time. I was like a kid in a candy store. I never seen such a big grocery supermarket, that big before, So I was just like a kid in a candy store. But I live with my grandma, and she's the one who kind of raised us. My dad had maybe a couple jobs, maybe even multiple jobs, and he did a great job on his part, trying to feed the family, so to speak. Meanwhile, my grandma would do most of the cooking. My first night in America, in Long Beach, California, to be exact, my grandma had me wash dishes, and I was like, I never washed dishes in my whole life, But anyway, I'll have more, the detail of that, which is kind of funny. But it was Long Beach, California. That was my first night. My foot on the U.S. soil, and everything was cool, right? I didn't go to school yet, for like the next maybe 5 to 6 months, just kind of hang around the house, and I'll go with my stepmom to stores and things like that. But then eventually we had to move, maybe about a year later. About a year and a half later or so, we ended up moving from Long Beach, California to now Linwood, near Southgate. Anyone of you guys know, some of you might not even know the area, but I'm sure there's got to be somebody watching this video that know those areas. So now we're living in Linwood, predominantly Hispanic neighborhood. And at that time, just so you know, it's much different. It's a different time than now. Most of the Hispanic kids don't really like Asian kids. I wouldn't say they don't like Asian kids. I just say that it's out of the element, But even with all that, I was able to manage still, make some cool Hispanic friends. Mainly the guys that are not gangbangers, guys that play your normal kickball, or at the time everybody's playing marbles, and I was pretty good at it. So I ended up making those kind of friends, not the bad kids, right? So then we lived there for about, I don't know, maybe like another year or 2 years or 3 years. So probably, I don't even recall the timeline, to be honest with you. But it's about 2-3 years, Then all of a sudden, my dad decided to sell the place, right? So now, guess what? So I was thinking, I never told him this, but I thought we were gonna move into a real good, even better, a better place or something. Well, guess what? Now this time we moved right back in North Long Beach, and right border, exactly on the border of Compton and North Long Beach. Once you cross this little street, you're in Compton. You cross back to your house, you're North Long Beach. Now, a little bit of background, not background, but a little bit of North Long Beach. I don't know if you know, you guys might know, but Snoop Dogg, you know, all these guys, you know what I'm saying? Like, they're straight out of LBC. You probably heard some of that in the rap song. Yeah, I even actually went to high school, eventually, Jordan High School, which is, you know, it's North Long Beach. So we lived there for quite a while, you know, maybe even like 4 to 5 years, I would think. You know, it's kind of tough living there. There would be, you know, a bunch of blood in the Crips, you know what I mean? They would shoot up, they would shoot at each other, and we're kind of right in the middle, so we have to sleep on the floor. So it's just funny, I was watching Lethal Weapon, I think it was like 4, with Chris Rock, you know, he was just yelling at Leo in the scene, I gotta sleep on the floor, eat on the floor. And I get it, man. When I heard that scene, when I watched that scene, I was like, I get that, you know, that's what's us, you know. So, you know, it's a rough neighborhood. I got into skateboarding during my teen years, when I was 13, 14, 15-ish. I wanted to be Tony Hawk, you know, and got into skateboarding. I got jumped a couple times riding the skateboard home. I don't know, I just on our boards, I guess, you know. I got hit one time, I remember, riding the skateboard home, you know. I think at nighttime, about 9 p.m., who the hell would like go out to a video store and rent a video? Well, I did. My brother and I did, and we got jumped. So that wasn't fun, you know. Usually we were always able to run away fast, you know what I mean? Like escape fast enough to not get completely ass kicked. We would they you know, maybe glazed us a little bit, and we were able to run fast enough to go into the store, you know. But then eventually we realized that, you know what, maybe it's not such a good idea anymore to go out at night, right? It's a ghetto neighborhood, man. So anyway, so that went on for a while, and then eventually my dad opened a Thai restaurant, you know. Well, guess what? Not anywhere near the area. He opened a Thai food restaurant in North Hollywood, which is San Fernando Valley. And I still remember to today that it was the first day when the restaurant was open. I was there the first day, and I was there the last day. So my first day, my sole only job was to pass flyers. This is way pre-internet. There's no internet, you know, no Facebook, no Google, none of that, right? Any kind of advertising, it's either gonna have to be newspapers, or you're gonna have to walk door to door. Well, guess who's that guy? You know, who's that guy to actually walk door to door? Me. My first day, you know, passing these flyers. I don't know, man. I don't know if you guys ever passed any flyers, but holy shit, that was a lot of work, man. You know, it crossed my mind to throw the flyers away, but you know what? Because it was my dad, that would always stop me from doing that, you know. It crossed my mind a couple of times. Nobody would know. I just toss it away. But it's my dad, right? So I ended up walking, passing them all, you know. And the restaurants start getting busy. It's kind of funny because the first day it was like nobody, no customers, literally. That's probably why they gave the restaurant my dad. I thought about it. He got this restaurant and there's no customers, so you know he probably thought he made a badass deal, you know what I mean? But the truth was, there was no customers, you know, to speak of. I literally, like, no customers. I mean, dude, you have the restaurant open, there's nobody coming in. So we went out. I mean, we were like, my dad, one thing not good about my dad though, he was very aggressive, very smart in marketing. So he would, you know, design these flyers, you know, to give it a little more color, have a little bit more saying in the flyer, you know, like, are you hungry today? You know, we're not far away, you know, fast free delivery, all that kind of stuff, because we had free delivery. It didn't look like your typical flyers on a doorknob, right? And then, you know what? He got smart. He actually said, why don't we put these flyers, you know, in the envelopes, right? So we started doing it. So instead of like your traditional flyers on the knob at the door, right? These flyers are like letter size, maybe legal sometimes. But then we would fold them, so a little bit more work just to fold them, and then you would put them in the white envelope, right? And the idea is to put it at the door, and then, you know, it kind of strike a curiosity, you know, to the homeowner or whoever, you know, whoever lives there. Oh, what the hell is this, right? Open the flyer. But with that strategy right there, it kind of stratosphered the restaurant sales pretty quick. And all of a sudden there's more orders coming in and deliveries, and then people going in the restaurant, all of a sudden he's getting, you know, it's starting to kind of take shape, right, into something that it could be successful. And for a little bit he was successful, you know. At this point it's like around 91, 92, we had like all you can eat buffet, you know, lunch hour and all that kind of stuff. It was starting to kind of come together in a way that I think all of us, I don't think he would never admit this, or even or I never asked him, is that I think kind of caught all of us by surprise, you know. Who would have thought that all of a sudden the restaurant's starting to make money, right? But guess what? Eventually he started hiring more people, you know, more expenses, right? Which eats into the profits, but you have to. It's a retail business. It's a restaurant. So eventually, you know, it got super busy. We have more delivery drivers, more waiters, you know, things like that. More chefs, of course. You know, you need more people to cook, right? And eventually, I think we hit about 1993. It was the market crash, you know. Now I'm able to tell you this now because I'm in Wall Street. Well, I know a lot about Wall Street. But at the time, I have no clue what that was. All he said was bad economy, people taking a hit. We used to have a huge load of customers from Lockheed. And Lockheed would come and, you know, lunch hour would be packed, super packed, you know, from our flyers, of course. By me passing it out. And my brother too sometimes. And so here's the thing, all of a sudden, you know, you can actually see the contrast between super busy and now starting to get like busy sometimes, and eventually start to kind of really, you know, level down where you start to wonder like, man, are we gonna make it, you know? And to top it off, he took a bit of cash. This is what he told me. A bit of cash, something around 20 grand to 30 grand maybe, wanting to expand to another restaurant which was a little closer to the rich, you know, the rich people. And but to me, when I heard that, I'm like, well, who's gonna pass the flyers over that restaurant? I don't see anybody here, right? So I already knew it was gonna be more tasks for me to do the door-to-door, you know, passing flyers, right? And well, the market crashed, everything stopped, the music stopped, you know, or at least almost stopped in the case of my dad. But anyway, so it went on like that, you know. We're trying to make ends meet. We were all, you know, months of rent to the, you know, to the building, right? Eventually, you know, I'll just kind of fast forward. All this stuff became 15 years of this Thai restaurant, you know, and eventually got burned down one day, you know. One day it got burned down. Come to find out, there's no insurance. Come to find out, there's like crap loads of taxes never paid. And it was the music is about to stop, right? So then my dad, he asked me, I was by that point I was delivering food as well. So I would drive back. It was about 11 p.m. and I could see like all the firefighters and trying to put the flames out, smoke's coming out everywhere. And my dad's sitting in front of the curb and he's just crying, just crying. And I asked him, well, I forgot what I asked him, but he said to me, that, I think we're done, and I looked at him, he just cried, right? He kept crying. And anyway, so the next day, I think he was able to compose himself, and he asked me, hey, I'm going to Washington State, do you want to go with me? And I kind of looked at him and go, no. He's like, what are you going to do? I'm like, well, I'm going to be a rock star. At that time, I had a rock band, and we played music in Hollywood. that was like my way of finding some sort of entertainment to keep sane, I guess. So he went off to Washington State. I stayed in Hollywood, tried to, you know, play music and all that kind of stuff. It was a rock band. I played guitar, you know. Now, eventually, a year and a half later, or about 2 years, I would say, he decided to open another restaurant up in Washington State. So I ended up going down there to do the restaurant again with him, you know. But I probably did that for about a year. This time around was a bit different. I was able to have enough courage to tell him that this thing's not for me, you know. And he agreed. Excuse me. So then I left from Washington State, came back down to North Hollywood, you know. Now the part that I didn't really wasn't cleared on, or at least I was definitely naive to the whole thing, was that, you know, keep in mind this is a different time than now, right? Now if you have tattoos or piercings, you probably can still get retail jobs. You can still get retail jobs, you know. It's a different time right now. Well, at the time, back at those days, which is like 1996, 1997-ish, you can. So I had this big hair, you know, jeans kind of ripped, you know what I mean, because I was representing my hard rock thing, I guess. But when you go to Jack in the Box and McDonald's, you know, those were the jobs I was applying for. You know, it would always end with, you know, Jack in the Box, Carl's Jr. I don't know why I went to the bank to be a teller. It was an instant no. The hair, the ripped pants, you know, the lack of personal hygiene, I'm sure give some good stench, you know. But anyways, it would always end up with "thank you, we'll call you" kind of thing, right? And nobody ever called. So then, by that point, I remembered I looked at these classified ads, and they would be a lot of sales ads, you know. In particular, wording would be telemarketing. We hire today, now. I have no clue what telemarketing is, man. You know, I figured it was like you sitting there and somebody's calling you and you're just gonna be like, you know, like customer service. I did not know that when you sit, you know, you have to call out, like cold call, right? Like trying to, you know, get people to be interested in buying whatever you're selling, you know, whatever you're offering, whatever you're selling. Boy, that was a rude awakening. Now keep in mind, I never really worked for anyone before, rather than my dad. So this was like one of those things where you just jump head on and see what happens, you know. But I remembered in the ad it says paid training, so I'm like, all right, it's $8, right? So I went in there. My first couple calls, I was, they hung up on me, and I was just, whoa, you know. I thought that something was wrong with the phone, actually. Turns out it wasn't. There was nothing wrong with the phones. It was just that I was intruding, you know, calling them, right, to pitch them this website, this beautiful website. Keep in mind, at the time, the internet was just a dial-up, okay? It was just dial-up. So here I am pitching businesses to tell them about the website. They barely even know what a website is, you know. I have to kind of walk them and show it to them. So when we would be like, hey, let me show it to you, and well, how am I going to show them? They don't have the internet, right? Some people don't even have the dial-up internet. And if they do have the internet, it's so slow that you know, a website would crash. It would try to load, you know. So anyway, long story short, we ended up doing that, and I ended up, you know, did pretty well. And 6 months in, I ended up training everybody how to cold call, I guess. But then eventually the company went out of business, you know, and there's a, you know, again, it's a long story there. But they went out of business, so I moved on, and I kept going to all these other telemarketing jobs. I figured this is what I already know how to do. So it's just gonna be either selling pens or, you know, now we're not doing websites, and now let me sell pens, sell, you know, the advertising, sell this and that, you know. And it went on like that for a while, right? Until finally I got to San Diego. And that's when there's a lot of ads for mortgage companies, you know, hiring telemarketers to get mortgage leads, right? Now, in order to get qualified mortgage leads, you got to cold call, I guess, a homeowner, and you got to convince him to refinance, right? But in order to get a qualified quality lead, you need to get their social security numbers over the phone on a cold call. So imagine that for a second. Isn't that like a sacred numbers and you're not supposed to give anybody? Well, guess what? I was good at doing that too. So we would get these leads, and it was hot. Everybody was, you know, I'm sure it having a lot to do with that. It was timing too. A lot of homeowners, you know, they all want to cash out. You know what I mean? It was like a perfect storm. You know, it may seem impossible to get somebody's social security number over the phone, but at that time it was very possible because everybody's motivated, including the homeowner, right? And it went like that. And you guys know about 2008. 2008, boom, right? Went down. You know, by that point in time, I was already a loan officer, and I already had my own office, you know, starting to make pretty sick money. But 2008, the market crashed. By that point in time, the writing was on the wall. I pretty much don't know what to do, to be honest with you. Right about that time, I met my wife. At the time, we're friends, and then we became, you know, a couple, and then we eventually, you know, settled together, you know. But right about the same time, one of my old buddy called me up. He'd been trying to call me to I guess go work for him because he know it was good on the phones, right? So he wants me to help him cold call, you know what I mean? And I was like, what am I cold calling? He's like, well, some investments. I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. I'm pretty sure it was a chop shop, just like the movie Wall Street. I just didn't know, didn't care either. So I did that, you know. But eventually I got smart and figured, you know what? It seems like it's a pretty cool business. I kind of like the whole, you know, calling people thing, but at the same time I wanted to make more money, you know. So I ended up trying to figure out how to trade and all that kind of stuff, and then eventually how to, you know, work with companies, work with clients, and eventually, you know, basically learn how to trade, and the rest is kind of history, you know. And that's kind of how my story is. And I know this might be a bit long, but I try to condense it. This is, you know, a span of 20 years. But that is my story. So basically, I'm in Wall Street. I trade for a living, and I help mentor people as well. You know, before you know, draw your own conclusion that I'm some sort of guru. I'm not a guru. I hate gurus. I'm gonna make a separate video, yes, to bash the gurus and what my opinion is on that. But that's my short story. I hope you enjoy this quick snapshot or quick condensed version of my story. You know, again, just, hey, you might have to play it a couple times, you know, but that's my short story. And here I am now, you know. The point of it is that, yes, it was a long journey, but I believe every journey has, you know, moments that you could cherish, right? You can learn a lot, you know, through the people you meet and how you develop yourself from there, you know. And yes, it was a tough journey, but you know what? I'm glad. I wouldn't have it any other way. You know, it's kind of like winning a huge lottery in a way. It's pretty close because I can always make that, you know, you can always produce, which is great. And I'll make some cool videos as well with that kind of stuff. But that's my short story, and I want to kind of end this clip because it's getting long. So if you like the story and you find it entertaining, please hit like, of course. Don't forget to subscribe and share the video. You know, it might inspire somebody, right? Other than that, my next video will be pretty cool. I would go into what I really do for a living. You know, parts of the story I kind of gave you was kind of quick, but I'll break down little parts a bit in detail. Other than that, this is Pony Diamond. Diamond is forever. Do it.